In Argentina, in preliminary results with over 90% of the votes counted, the opposing coalition led to the legislative elections in Buenos Aires, representing an overwhelming defeat for the current government of Javier Milei. In Palestine, the Hamas resistance movement claimed to be ready to negotiate an immediate ceasefire agreement in Gaza, emphasizing the need to see explicit assurances that Israel will comply with the agreement and not break the negotiations. In the southwest Chinese city of Kunming, over 500 representatives from 110 countries have come together at the 2025 Second Global South Think Tank and Media Forum. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Sophie Fernandez from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Argentina, in preliminary results with over 90% of the votes counted, the opposing coalition Fuerza Patria, Homeland Strength in English, led with a wide advantage of 13.8 points over the far-right-wing Libertad Avanza party, Liberty Advances in English, in Buenos Aires legislative elections. On Sunday, 23 provincial senators, 46 provincial deputies, and their substitutes were elected to renew half of the legislators in each of the two legislative provinces' chambers. Municipal authorities were also elected in 135 municipalities of the province of Buenos Aires. The opposing coalition, led by Governor Alex Kicillof, obtained 47.20% of the votes, while the ruling party, far-right-wing Alliance Liberty Advances, obtained 33.86%. This Sunday's elections in Buenos Aires are key for the upcoming national legislative elections on October 26.
Un mensaje. Después de lo que ocurrió acá.
A message. After what happened here, whose reading we cannot exaggerate, because they themselves said what a triumph of theirs, of our government, in the province meant. They are going to have to rectify the course. They are going to have to rectify the course. The ballot boxes told President Milei that public works cannot be stopped. The ballot boxes explained to him that retirees cannot be hit. The ballot boxes, with a 13-point difference, explained to him.
In this sense, Governor Axel Kicillof emphasized that the purpose of Fuerza Patria is to take care of health, public works, education, and work.
At the beginning of this stage, that the province of Buenos Aires, that the government we headed was going to work as a shield and as a network to defend and protect our people as far as possible. Look, we had won the open, simultaneous and mandatory primaries. We had won, not so long ago, the general elections. We had won in the province of Buenos Aires the ballotage. It was not a decision, it was not an idea of our own. It was a mandate to take care of health, education, to continue with public works, to take care of jobs. That is why, today, with the verdict of the ballot box, I said that we made a commitment and we fulfilled it.
After his victory in the legislative elections in the province of Buenos Aires, Governor-elect Axel Kicillof thanked all the peoples of Buenos Aires and the political strength of Fuerza Patria.
First of all, I would like to express my gratitude, first, to the millions of Buenos Aires citizens who participated today in this election. Second, to the militants who overcame resignation, the attacks, and went out to the beach, and went out to the field, and went out to the streets to fight this election. Secondly, to the candidates of all the forces, but particularly to the sectorial district Fuerza Patria candidates. Thank you very, very much.
Meanwhile, Argentinian President Javier Milei confirmed the defeat of his party in the legislative elections of the province of Buenos Aires from the headquarters of Liberty Advances.
What we have to be clear about is that, without any doubt, today we have had a clear defeat in the political sphere. And if someone wants to start to rebuild and move forward, the first thing to accept are the results. And today the results have not been positive, and we had an electoral setback, and we have to accept it.
We move to Chile, where police forces repressed a new mobilization held in Santiago to commemorate the 52nd anniversary of the coup d'etat against Salvador Allende and to pay tribute to the victims of the dictatorship. Thousands of people mobilized this day during the traditional pilgrimage that takes place every year on the Sunday before September 11th, the day that marks the anniversary of the 1973 civilian-military plot that deposed the Popular Unity government to establish the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet. Although the march was peaceful, police repressed it with water cannons and tear gas. According to official reports, at least 57 demonstrators were arrested, of which 11 were teenagers. Meanwhile, in Brazil, Independence Day is celebrated on September 7th, commemorating the moment when the country declared its independence from the Portuguese colonial empire in 1822. The commemorations of this special date and Brazil's role on the world stage, especially throughout cooperation with the emerging powers of the BRICS group, are fundamental to the country's national identity and geopolitical influence. Patriotic Day, as it is also known, is a public holiday in Brazil, during which the country celebrates its freedom and cultural identity. In addition to the official ceremonies, cities throughout the country host various cultural events, concerts, folkloric dances, and fireworks, reflecting the diversity and the pride of the Brazilian people. Also in Brazil, on this Independence Day, people also celebrated the 31st edition of the Cry of the Excluded, focused on social justice and the defense of the nature. Activists and militants rallied under the slogan, "We must take care of our common home and of democracy every day," to denounce social inequality and poverty. Meanwhile, popular movements in Brazil mobilized on Sunday to reject the amnesty granted to political supporters of former President Jair Bolsonaro and against U.S. interference. Brazilians demonstrated under the slogan, "No amnesty for Bolsonaro and coup plotters," in defense of sovereignty and national democracy. Rally organizers said that only Brazilian citizens can govern their country, in allusion to interfering attempts from the White House. Also on this day, the popular movement's coalitions demonstrated for the reduction of the 6-by-1 working week and the exception of income tax for those who earn up to $923 per month. In other news, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum continues her third day of traveling around the country to share the progress made during her first year in office. The president led the third day of the Transformation Moves Forward in Coahuila this Sunday, starting early in the morning with a high-level delegation. Chainbaum underscored what she is adhering to the Constitution of the Republic by submitting an annual financial statement. She also stated that on this occasion she wanted to visit all the states of the country. Additionally, the governor of Coahuila, Manolo Jiménez, highlighted the work of the Mexican leaders since she took office and the improvements in the northern state during her administration. And now we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Palestine, the Hamas resistance movement claimed to be ready to negotiate immediately a ceasefire agreement in Gaza, emphasizing the need to see explicit assurances that Israel will comply with the agreement and not break the negotiations. The Hamas Islamic resistance movement has confirmed that it received proposals sent by the United States government aimed at achieving a ceasefire in Palestine and welcomes any effort that contributes to ending the Zionist massacres of its people. The organization reiterated that Palestine is ready to sit down immediately to discuss the release of all those held in exchange for a clear announcement of the end of the war, the complete withdrawal of the Israeli army from Gaza, and the formation of a committee to administer the enclave from independent Palestinians, who would begin this administration as soon as the truce came into force. Meanwhile, in Palestine, at least 85 people have died in the last 24 hours due to Israeli bombings on Gaza. According to medical data, the death toll has risen to over 64,360, and almost 162,800 people have been injured. Health authorities recall the number of deaths could rise, as several victims remain trapped under the rubble and have not been able to receive medical attention due to the continuous Israeli attacks. Despite calls from the United Nations Security Council for an immediate ceasefire, Tel Aviv continues its aggression against the Gaza Strip.
We were sleeping peacefully when suddenly we found rubble and rocks falling on us and the children. This little girl was pulled out from under the rubble. Two rockets penetrated the second floor, fell on the ground floor, and exploded among the displaced people.
Yemen's armed forces launched a drone attack against Israel defenses that hit Ramon Airport, which is located south of the occupied Palestine. On Sunday, an unmanned vehicle penetrated Israel air defenses, causing large columns of smoke. After the attack, airport authorities closed the airspace as a safety measure. According to Israeli statements, the incursion was part of a coordinated attack involving 4 drones launched from Yemen, 3 of which were intercepted and the 4th fell on their target. Meanwhile, around the world, several human rights organizations denounced the catastrophic situation in the Gaza Strip and various war crimes committed by the Zionist regime. Human Rights Watch organizations warned that the situation in Gaza was already catastrophic before the Israeli offensive and called on the international community to impose an arms embargo on the Zionist regime and sanction the officials responsible for the war crimes. The UN also said that half of Gaza's population is the brink of famine, while the UN Commission of Inquiry called the Zionist state policies deliberate starvation of civilians. Since the beginning of the aggression against the Gaza Strip, various humanitarian organizations warn of an unprecedented catastrophe due to food shortage, lack of medicine, and the blockade imposed by the Tel Aviv regime. The Meteorological Institute of Panama extended until next Tuesday the vigilance due to the intense rains and thunderstorms that the country is facing. Weather authorities informed that the rains could intensify in the next 24 hours, reaching wind speeds of up to 18 kilometers per hour. Among the provinces that could be affected are Bocas del Toro, Los Santos, and West Panama. Civil Protection recommended the population to remain alert and take precautions in vulnerable areas in case of possible river and flooding and landslides. Meanwhile, Hong Kong received heavy rains and wind Mondays as tropical storm Tapa is also affected mainland China. On Sunday night, Hong Kong's observatory raised its number 8 storm signal, the third highest in the city's weather system. At 9 a.m. local time, it reported that Tapa had a maximum sustained winds of about 110 kilometers per hour near the center. 2 people were injured in the storm and sent to a hospital for treatment. The government received about 20 reports of troubled streets in the city, with hundreds of people seeking refuge in temporary centers. Guangdong province, located in Hong Kong, has halted some trains and ferry services ahead of the storm. In China, Typhoon Tabat, the 16th of the current season, made landfall this Monday in the southwest Chinese province of Canton as a strong tropical storm. Tabat hit Taishan on the coast of Canton at about 8:50 local time, with winds of about 108 kilometers per hour and a pressure of 978 hectopascals. The observatory forecasts that the phenomenon will move to the northwest at about 20 kilometers per hour and will progressively lose strength as it moves inland, after leaving winds of between 10 and 11 degrees on the Chinese scale, equivalent to a severe tropical storm. In cities such as Shenzhen, Shunai, and Jiangmen, outdoor activities were ordered to cease and the preemptive evacuation of thousands of people in coastal areas at risk. And now we have a second short break coming up. But before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break coming, don't go away. Welcome back. In the southwest Chinese city of Kunming, over 500 representatives from 110 countries have come together at the 2025 Second Global South Think Tank and Media Forum. Under the theme Empowering the Global South, Navigating Global Change, the 5-day event aims at fostering consensus on peace, cooperation, and dialogue among participant nations, whose delegations make the joint Global South Communications Associations network, which groups over 1,000 media think tanks and other institutions from 95 countries. Participants also support cooperation for media development at the time where media warfare is increasing on a global scale. Among the media invited is our multi-platforms news network teleSUR, represented by its president Patricia Villegas. In Sudan, the armed conflict has destroyed the country's agricultural sector and threatens to worsen the current famine crisis. According to surveys conducted by United Nations, at least 24.6 million people in Sudan have fallen victim to severe food insecurity, and some 637,000 people are suffering even more severe conditions. Agriculture used to drive the nation's economy, but widespread fighting has destroyed plantation irrigation system. Moreover, lack of funds has stalled the recovery of water reservoirs, leaving farmers unable to resume production. In other news, in Ethiopia, the one-day Second Africa CARICOM Summit focused on both cooperation and on a joint plea for colonial abuse reparations. At the summit held at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, CARICOM Secretary General Clara Barnett said the meeting could help promote cooperation, particularly in trade and health, but that it would also be addressing reparations. She said that the injustice of colonial rule and the transatlantic slave trade are reasons why these countries lag behind developed nations. This summit not only focused on reparations for African nations and peoples of African descent, but also on forging stronger relations between Africa and the Caribbean region.
History and culture. It is therefore feast, a family gathering and reunion across
The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has agreed to increase oil production. At a virtual summit, 8 countries in the organization announced that they had agreed to increase oil production by 137,000 barrels per day in October. They also said that the decision was made based on the stability of the global economic outlook and the current solid market fundamentals. Finally, they emphasized that the increase will mark the end of voluntary cuts of over 2.2 million barrels per day. In Nepal, thousands of devotees gather at Kathmandu Durbar Square to celebrate the month-long festival season, beginning with a parade for the living goddess Kumari. The week-long Indra Hatra festival is the first of many other common celebrations in the predominantly Hindu nation, which include Dasain, the main festival celebrated later this month, and Tihar or Diwali, the festival of lights, in October. Tens of thousands line up the narrow streets of inner Kathmandu to worship Kumari, or Virgin of Nepali language, including Nepal's president, prime minister, and several other top officials. The Indra Hatra festival marks the end of the monsoon and rice farming season, signaling the dawn of fall. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Sophie Fernandez. Thank you for watching.